to infinity and beyond.
And Roger and James here from DisKingdom. In this episode, we're kind of going to do a little bit of speculation, a little bit of fantasy game here, because at this time of the year, this would have been when Disney Infinity 4.0 was originally scheduled to be released. Whether or not it was going to be 4.0 or what it was, we knew through a few leaks in the past about what would have been coming, but it's that kind of thing of like sitting here right now thinking, we should have been getting, we would have had it in our hands had the game not been cancelled. And just for, looking at the lineup now and just sort of having a little bit of a reminisce about what could have been.
Yeah, especially since D23 was only a couple of weeks ago, or at the time we were recording this. Yeah. And, D23 is the huge Disney, was the huge Disney Infinity event. They had the summit there 2 years ago. And so, it would have been a big part of the video game panel, obviously. 2 years ago, they gave away the Kingdom Hearts disc, which caused a little bit of controversy. But I think that leads us into the first bit of speculation, probably, which is there would probably be some Kingdom Hearts content. Yeah. Maybe even some characters. Maybe just power discs. Maybe, you get the Kingdom Hearts versions of Goofy and Donald, which would have meant they would have to have released a Goofy character because they didn't have one.
Well, I think he was. I did see some concept art for him.
He's a gimme. He's the major character who didn't yet have a figure, so he was almost certainly coming one way or another.
Yeah. It wouldn't have surprised me if we saw a Sora figure. That would have been would have made so much sense.
Sora, and then maybe also Roxas. Yeah. I know they're basically the same character, but they're both popular in their own rights, so I could see getting both, or at least Sora and maybe a Roxas power disc to go with him. So
that definitely would have been in. Can't help but feel had the game not been done, Cars 3 Driven to Win would have been a playset. That would have just been slipped in there as a playset, so that was almost. It's funny playing that this summer. It just felt like playing Disney Infinity. It just had that feel to it.
Well, I'm sure they used the same engine, so
yeah, it was literally the same engine. Kaboom! But also, looking here at the lineup of movies for Ragnarok, that would have been the Marvel tie-in video game for that. So you could have almost guaranteed that would have been a play set.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing that we really were going to be missing out with 4.0 is looping these sets back around that we had in the originals. Cars, of course, was in Disney Infinity 1.0. We had all the Avengers characters in 2.0. And this would have been where, that promise of my characters from 2.0 have suddenly become relevant in 4.0. Because you get the original Thor character. They'd probably release a second Thor character like they did with Captain America.
A new Hulk.
A new Hulk as well with the gladiator gear and everything, which honestly would have looked really awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe a new Yondu character because it went so well the first time. Oh, wait.
Yeah, no,
maybe not. But we probably would have also had a tie-in with Guardians of the Galaxy.
He would have been in the play set to get rid of them.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. But we could have seen a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 play set, maybe around the time the Blu-ray comes out. That'd be a little bit harder. Maybe they would use it instead as a promotional piece for the new toy box. They release a toy box level with Guardians of the Galaxy that shows off all the new toys, all the new triggers and whatnot that you could use.
Yeah, I'm also thinking the Star Wars side. Obviously, Rogue One was set to be a 3.0 playset. Now, Last Jedi, very much could have been something that we would know about. How I'm kind of in some ways it's like how bad the Force Awakens one was. I would hope they would do something a bit different to it, but Last Jedi content would have been included in this.
Absolutely. They would have included some new characters. We would have seen some of the characters getting updated models, getting new models put out, plus whatever changes to the combat they made, would be implemented into these characters. It would be interesting to see if they continued doing the same thing that they did with the Star Wars sets in 3.0, which was unlock every single Star Wars character in every single one. Because by the time you get to 4.0, you would have also had the Rogue One characters. Yeah. Potentially we would have had a couple of other characters, maybe Mace Windu or something like that. That's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of places you've got to hide coins to collect those characters, or maybe there would be a single coin for the Rogue One characters. There'd be a single coin for the Rebels characters, or whatever.
Definitely, I wouldn't even surprise me if there was another just generic Star Wars at launch, just to get everybody in there.
Maybe something with Rebels. I mean, they've already got the figures, but they could totally make a Grand Admiral Thrawn figure. They could have done a Rebels version of Ahsoka, because she had completely different lightsabers. She's grown up. There's tons of things they could do with Star Wars. This one's going to be a little bit of a reach, but they could even include, like, say, the Inferno Squad characters from Battlefront 2. Now, obviously, that one's targeted more at a mature audience, whereas Disney Infinity is obviously meant for younger kids. But, man, those figures would be so cool looking.
I think we've really felt it the last year where they didn't have it. There were so many movies that came out with no gaming content. We're in a slightly different zone a little bit now. But things like Coco would have had some content, and things like this. And that's where, looking at 4.0 of what could have been, in some ways, it doesn't quite feel as bad. This time last year was worse, because it was like we were used to having that content coming. This second year on, it's like, okay, it's been gone for 18 months. We're all used to it. We're all fine with it. We've got used to the concept. It's like, as of time of this coming out, we've just had Marvel vs. Capcom. We've got Lego Marvel. We've got Battlefront 2 coming next month. So there's plenty of stuff coming out now. But it's that weird thing of sometimes just not having those little connectors and stuff, of looking back at what would have been from this year, and also just the fact that they might be going more down the platform route. But then I also just sort of sit there and go, it wouldn't have worked on the Switch.
Well, I mean, Skylanders decided that they would just do away with always having to put the characters in for Disney Infinity. I think, honestly, they probably would have had to do the same thing, at least on the Switch. And, especially with the current state of the Toys to Life market, not just Disney Infinity, but, the problems Lego Dimensions has had, it certainly looks like there's not going to be any new Skylanders at this point. They said they're going to switch over to mobile platform or something like that, based on their last press release at the time of this recording. There could have been a push for Disney Infinity to move towards a kind of save it within the game, and then you spend an hour putting them back into the characters at some point. But there definitely would have been a move away from constantly having to change the characters out.
Yeah, it definitely.
Heck, I think they even had that in the Marvel Battleground set, didn't they? You only had to lock the character in once, but that was because they wanted the 4-player action, which no one ever actually used.
No. It's that kind of weird thing, I think, now. Here we are. It's almost that thing of 2 years on from the release of 3.0, of just like, Disney definitely haven't filled the void. I think Star Wars and Marvel have, but Disney definitely haven't filled that void. And them using their mobile games isn't quite scratching it, but at least, Cars 3 at least scratched a little bit of it. But, it's the idea that 4.0 would have ran on probably throughout 2018 into 2019. It might have even been rebranded and just become a platform and forget the number systems. But it's that weird thing as well, like you sort of sit, September, August kind of feeling of like, we had 3 years really of it, and then boom, exploded.
Yeah, and it's not just that. We should also be kind of going like, oh, what's great about Disney Infinity 4.0 that the new Skylanders number 12 doesn't have,
Yeah. It's that weird thing. If you'd said to us in 2015, in 2 years' time, none of them will be out, you would have been like, get away, no chance. There'll be no chance. They're making billions.
We're waiting for one Skylanders character in Imaginators, and I think that's going to be the end of Skylanders. That character might not even come out.
Yeah.
He's been released in Australia, maybe in the UK, but we haven't seen him stateside. We might not see him stateside. Lego Dimensions, we're just waiting for the Teen Titans and the Powerpuff Girls, I think.
Which will be out by the time this episode goes out.
Right, and we have heard nothing about Year 3. Now, I have heard speculation from some people that, there is stuff coming, but at the time this is out, we have not heard anything
No.
about a Year 3 or a LEGO Dimensions 2. There's still, Light Seekers, or whatever it's called, sitting on shelves in Toys R Us, hoping desperately that people will pick it up. And then we saw that ad for that sci-fi shooter game, space combat game, which looks cool, but they have specified that you do not need to buy the physical toys. Everything in the game you can get digitally. So
if you are after the closest thing you could have got to a Kingdom Hearts Disney Infinity figure, there was a Player 2 Cloud Amiibo from Nintendo.
That's true.
Which always sold out everywhere I looked. I couldn't see one anywhere. So that one's on my, I am going to try and pick that one up because that's about as close as we're going to get to a Kingdom Hearts kind of Disney Infinity figure. But yeah, it's that odd thing of sitting here now and just sort of thinking what could have been, but also as well looking at it and sort of thinking for us maybe as a whole, there's hopefully they all have come up with some kind of replacement of some kind, but it definitely feels like that void, just massive chunk of it has been left. And it just hasn't really been filled by anything. Even Lego Worlds are trying to do the toy box, but in generally, Disney, as far as Disney console game stuff, it just has not materialized. 2 years later.
Yeah, and we're also kind of getting to the point where they're announcing mobile games and they're releasing mobile games, but I'm continually going, I would really just kind of prefer this as a full game. Mm. They just announced fairly recently, at the time of this recording, the Marvel and Fox action RPG, the future fight contender. I'm just I would really prefer to play a game like that with a controller. Mm. I'd rather play it as a Marvel Ultimate Alliance kind of game. Mm. But, who knows? Maybe they're working on a console version of it. I don't know.
No, it's definitely interesting. We're this far on. Lots of games out, lots of things coming out this winter, but not necessarily the Disney side that we would have loved.
And I do have to say, I've been on a big Star Wars kick lately. I think Inferno Squad, the book, really got me ramped up for that and all that. And the kind of game that I'm looking for a Star Wars game was Disney Infinity 3.0. The lightsaber combat was great. The character selection was great. The first two play sets were fantastic. Third play set, Force Awakens, not so much. But there aren't any games that really have that same play style. I think there was Star Wars The Clone Wars Republic Heroes, but it was not a good game. No. To be polite.
No. I've go and play Star Wars Force Unleashed.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
I absolutely have. But again, it's not quite the same experience. I do prefer the kind of action RPG aspect of the Infinity games, which isn't to say Force Unleashed 1 and 2 aren't great. They are tons of fun for what they got, for what they are.
But no. So there we go. Sort of a little bit of a reminiscing about Disney Infinity there. On that note, guys, remember to hit that subscribe button, the like button, follow button. Remember to check us out over at DisKingdom.com. James, where can they find you?
HeroicLegacy.com.
And on that, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Later.